I'm Adnan Jgu and I'm a man on a mission to find the best hotels in Mauritius. Today come with me to experience RiU Turquoise. The drive from the north was quite pleasant and especially the scenic route of Tamarin was incredibly beautiful. However, upon nearing the hotel, there was no clear sign where the hotel was specifically, as I had gotten lost several times and went to a different hotel instead by accident. However, finally I found the hotel and the security at the gate was overly friendly, with no formalities at all. The security was actually speaking Creole in a very slang tone. The process of checking in was incredibly horrible, confusing and frustrating. The staff was not warm and welcoming at all. There was no one waiting for us to receive our bags, no refreshment drink, and no proper explanation of where all the hotel facilities were. No one actually took us around to show us where the restaurant was or where the pool was. In fact, I had to learn all of this on my own through my own exploration. There was a backlog of luggage from different guests. Some guests had to even carry their own luggage to the room out of frustration. Initially, we got assigned room 117. However, they assumed we would know where the room was. I actually had to ask a staff member if they could take us up to the room. Speaking of the whole check-in procedure, they actually kept pushing for us to download the RiU app, which isn't a problem. However, whatever issue I had, they said to just check the app. It seems like everything will be on the app and eventually there won't be any staff working at the hotel. And instead, everyone will check themselves in and do everything themselves moving forward. In fact, an app, as I've said this many times, should be used to enhance the experience, and it's not the end all and be all to the whole experience. A place that does this really well is a place like Disney. The app is there to enhance it, not there to be the whole experience. The unpleasant experience continues in the room because they gave me a room I did not ask for. I had specifically sent them a mail prior to check-in that the beds they give me is not a separated one. However, the one in room 117 had a gap in the middle. I had arrived at the hotel around 3 o'clock and I had spent a few hours going back and forth to the reception and being on the phone requesting the room I had initially asked for. Finally, redeeming quality, they shifted us to room 38, and this is the room I was looking for, with the bed that did not have a gap in the middle. However, the satisfaction was short-lived because I waited 3 hours between 3 o'clock and 6 o'clock asking for decent service. Now, I had asked for an iron to iron my clothes. However, the iron took ages to arrive, and when it did, I just decided to just wear my shirt just like that. And when the staff member knocked on the door to give me the iron, they only knocked once and they entered on their own accord. Now, that was really scary. Dinner service was appalling. However, the food was delicious. The highlight of the trip was the food. Once again, no one came to seat us or receive us, and we had to search for our own seats. We felt invisible the entire time. Finally, I had to ask for a waiter to come and serve us, only to be met with an inexperienced waiter who could neither understand English or French, and he struggled to serve us the entire time. There was a variety of food, however, there's no variety of drinks. And warning, the labeling of their food is a lawsuit waiting to happen. There was plenty of guests at the hotel, and that by religion is not supposed to eat beef. However, where it's written chicken, there's beef underneath, and where it's written fish, there's beef underneath. Unacceptable. I had a starter salmon with salad, followed by a full plate of meat, chicken, beef, and afterwards I decided to have a nice cake just to end it all. After dinner service, I decided to go to the bar to get some drinks. However, again, their service was slow and I decided to call it a day since it was quite exhausting and quite unpleasant. Specifically, it was my birthday. I decided to have a good time. Unfortunately, it was not that. So I decided to go back to my room, only to realize I'm sharing my room with a lizard and a cockroach. Let's see if the next day is any better. So it was a treat to wake up to this view, especially waking up to an ocean view. However, sleeping at night was awful because the aircon was not working and it was broken down. And on a side note, that morning they delivered a cake to my room in light of my birthday, but of course it was just a little bit too late. And I mean, who really eats cake for breakfast? I give them points for effort, so I give them that. I made several requests since the day before that they fill my amenities such as coffee or tea and sugar and even the mini fridge. that has, of course, with our all-inclusive package that we paid 24,000 rupees for, such as the Coke and the water, for example, and it took them the whole of the second day to do so. We got ready for breakfast early, and of course the issue from last night persisted, such as the food labeling showing pork next to chicken, for example, or even fish next to the vegetarian food. Overall, it was a better day. I got to enjoy the pool and do some exploring because some people have not been given a tour and the hotel is forcing people to rely on the app. Some children don't even know that there's a water park in the hotel itself. For lunch, I decided to try out the ramen station, and there was a chef there, and he was the highlight. He was incredibly friendly, and the ramen itself was delicious. It was time for dinner, and I made bookings for the Indian Bangalore restaurant via reception. However, once again, they made things difficult, forcing me to do so via the app. The restaurant was okay, but the Indian food in general didn't feel that authentic and typically Indian. Right after dinner, we decided to take a walk around the hotel, and we heard music coming from somewhere. And we decided to investigate, and to our surprise, there was a full show going on. This is an example of how we were oblivious to the hotel activities because they said everything was on the app. The whole experience was void of human connection between the guest and the staff. I'm not trying to trash the place overall. It was okay. I'm not trying to trash the place. I mean, overall it was okay. A little bit frustrating, but I do hope they improve down the line because I'd be more than happy to come back to give a better review because